Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame, and this is the review for the first episode of Cherish the Day. Y'all know this is Ava DuVernay's, and I love her. I live for Queen Sugar. I can't wait for that to come back on. So anyway, just in case y'all haven't seen the previews, I was drawn in almost immediately when I saw the previews for this, and I'd already told y'all before in another video that I was going to possibly do a review on this, and as you see, I am. But anyway, it was interesting for the first episode. It kept my attention. The most started happening as it progressed, and I was like, okay. But anyway, let me just go on ahead and get into it. So it started out showing the two main characters having sex with other people. And it was like booty call hours. Like, they made a point of showing the time and all of that. And it's like, when they finished, when they decided that they were finished, they both got up. And the guy that she was with and the woman that he was with, they were both looking like, you don't have to leave, you can stay. And they kind of were like getting up before they really finished, from what I could tell. And it's like the other people, they really were enjoying themselves. So they was like, you don't have to leave. And they were like, yeah, I'll call you. And I'm guessing that they aren't. They looked as if they weren't pleased with the situation, meaning the main characters. So I was like, what is this about? Like, are y'all just doing this to kind of have something to fill your time with, and you ain't even enjoying yourself? Like, what's going on? So anyway, she left and went on by her business, even though it was like early in the morning. She doesn't have a vehicle, so I don't know how the public transportation goes in California, but either she walked, called an Uber, or called the bus. It would be nice if buses ran 24/7 here, especially back in the time when I didn't have a vehicle for a little while and I had no choice but to learn the bus system or walk. And I mean, that was fine. I got a lot of extra cardio in, and I learned the ins and outs of certain parts of the city. But I digress. So the guy, he went on by his business. He's driving a Tesla. And, just in case y'all don't remember who the main character is, he is the person who a lot of us have seen him in various things, but like the main thing that he played in that stuck out to me was when he played Kato in that Underground TV show that came on that had Journey Smollett and, other various people in it who are amazing. Like, if you watch How to Get Away with Murder, the woman who plays Tegan, that was the woman who played her mama in that. And I mean, y'all, I think the little boy was her actual brother, like blood brother, one of the brothers, because they have a pretty big family. Anyway, but yeah, they went, on about their business. They left the people who they were screwing where they was at. So then we see later on, in the day, because like I said, this was after hours. This was like 1 some a.m. So the sun has come up, and the main character, Gently, she is in the house of who we learn is her boss, and her boss is being played by none other than the legendary Cicely Tyson, and her name in this is Miss Luma Langston. She used to be in several films, but they always do like they've done a lot of the great black actresses, and they had her play like a maid or something, like some side, afterthought type of a character. And a lot of people felt like she should have gotten way further than she did in her career, and she never did. But she, is still amazing in her own right. So she's working for this woman. She's in her house. She's taking care of her as far as like running errands for her, and she makes food for her. I guess she cleans up around, all that stuff. Just does these things for her. And I mean, even though she seems to be completely capable of doing things on her own, she has Gently there. Y'all, then we see old boy whose name is Evan, for all intents and purposes of this show. His name is Evan. And we see him walking with a little girl, and I'm like, I bet this is not his child. They probably want us to kind of believe it's his child, and I'm like, nope, this ain't his child. Come to find out it's not. It is his niece, and he's walking to a place that's having a lecture on what commit. I hope I'm not saying that wrong, but this woman, she's in a library, and the little girl is like pretty young. Like, you can tell she's 10 years old or younger. But anyway, she's pretty young, and her mama is not here for the stuff that she likes to do. And it took everything in her to even agree to let the child go to this lecture. And like, her mama done went to church, and she was like, well, I'm pretty sure she's at church in the car praying for us right now. And it's like, I don't know what it is. Like, they are, I guess because they are just completely different. And her mama just don't understand her. She just like what she like. So it seems like a whole lot of nice lecturing is going on about African American studies and just African things in general. I was here for it. So he ends up walking off and going to get some stuff, I guess, for his niece. And he's in line. And we see Gently at the front of the line going back and forth with the person who's going to check them out, the librarian, or, who actually is being played by, if you've ever seen It's a Different World, like back in the day, well, not as back in the day. The girl, I don't know why her real name escapes me at the moment, but she played Charmaine. She's in this. And I was like, okay, like every now and again when I see her, I get excited because she is an amazing actress, but they could have got a better wig for her to put on. I'm sorry. I know my wig doing a lot, like it's big and all that, but I'm just saying. Because, just in case y'all don't know, this is a wig I made. It's just something I wanted to do. I made it, and I like it. But they could have did something. They could have got a better wig for her to have on. And I was like, Lord, why? Why? But she is at the front of this line going back and forth with this woman about over $200 in fines for books that had been checked out over a year ago. Now, I'm like, girl, what in the world? So we learned that it actually is Miss Luma's debt, if you will, that's out there. And she's going back and forth with her, and people are restless, and Evan is in line. There's this guy. He was like, well, how long have you been here? And he was like, man, it seems like over 30 minutes. He was like, but I'm enjoying the view. So they both looking at butt cheeks. And then he starts to smile. So then he looking like, okay, let me go up here, see what I can do. So he done went up there and was like, what seems to be the problem? Like, we have, some things we have to do. And I mean, he didn't say anything disrespectful or anything. He just wanted to move it along because his niece was going to be done with that lecture in like less than 10 minutes. And he heard, how much the fine was going to be and all that other stuff. He was like, well, let me help. I'll pay it, and, you don't have to worry about that, because she actually needed to check out more books. And he was just looking at her like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, what's going on. And so she was like, look, you don't understand. This is for my boss. And he overheard her name, and he actually knows who she is. He's seen some of the films that she's been in, and he was getting his life a little bit, and she was actually shocked that he knew anything about her existence. And like, it was kind of like, oh, that's amazing that you know that information about her. Like, oh, okay. So they kept having a moment. I was like, this is not real life. Like, they were literally standing there like in like 5 minutes real time at least, having an exchange. And I'm like, most people ain't trying to see y'all holding up the line for 30 seconds when it's not directed it's not directed at the woman who she needs to pay the money to. You holding the line up too. And they basically were going back and forth like, okay, well, it's going to take me a certain amount of time to get this done because she wants me back within 15 minutes. So, let me handle this. So he was like, come on, man, let me just handle this for you. And, she was kind of intrigued, but at the same time, she was like, man, look, I gotta, this woman got to put some respect on her name. Like, she literally said that. She was like, this woman need to understand that we're dealing with greatness and they need to put some respect on her name. And so, she was like, I really need to handle this. So She ended up waiving the fee, and she was like, "This is a one-time wavering situation. One-time situation where we're gonna waive the fee, and this is including you too. So, ever in life you come up in here and you got some outstanding fines too, you gonna have to pay them. Ain't no waiving nothing no more." So, mission was accomplished. She was able to check the books out. Cool. So later on, he, dropped the niece off at his sister's house, because it's his biological sister's house. And we see the husband, he just looking like, the mama in her feelings. Like, she really does not, she's just not here for the daughter's interest. And so he tried to talk to him like, "Man, what's going on with my sister? How you been doing today? How you been holding up? What's been the verdict?" And so she was like, "I think my daughter hates me. I feel like I'm a terrible mother. I don't understand her," and all this other stuff. And so he was like, "Well, what's the verdict for her?" And she was like, "Well, she feels that her mama doesn't understand her," and all this other stuff. And it was just crazy. So it got to a point where she was like, "Well, thank you for taking her. You want to come inside, I'll make you a sandwich." So then he got an alert. And before that even happened, he was interested in her. So he was still with the niece, and he ended up taking the niece by his job. He was going to stop by his job like for 20 minutes. And this is the weekend. He off work. He is like a tech guy. And everybody really likes him. He's very likable. And one random woman at the job rolled up on him and was like, "I really need your help." He looking at her like, "Nope, I ain't helping you. You know why I'm here. I ain't here for all that. I'm just here. I'm trying to be in and out. That's it. I ain't even supposed to be here." So then, she eventually got him to just agree to at least hear her out. And what she wanted was something that he'd already addressed. And he was ultimately like, "Ain't nothing I could do. I already told them in my formal proposal about what was going on with that. And, you're going to have to take it up with them." So then he went on to his office, and she was like, "Look, don't you like it here or whatever?" So he was like, "It's a job, He basically let it be known that I'm here, I'm working this job. It's, providing what I needed to provide. And I'm about to be up out of here as soon as I can, because it's paying my bills, doing whatever." But you could tell he's not happy there. But he is doing this with a purpose in mind. And that purpose is to have a business that he builds from the ground up that is for the people, us, for Black people. And so she was like, "Well, you're going to need a VP. I'll be sending you my resume." And so he was like, "Yeah, I'm sure you will." So he's supposed to be doing some work. Then he starts thinking about Gently. So he goes on Instagram and he types her name in. Her name is Gently Jones. Types it in. Her name is the first one that really pops up. And so he starts going through her pictures. So he's fascinated by what he's seeing, because she's been to all of these places. And he literally just go on there. I'm like, "Bro, you ain't friends. That's kind of creepy." Went on there and started liking like all of her pictures. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she gonna be freaked out." Like, who does that? You don't even know her. You didn't send her no request. You just went on there and just started liking pictures. Y'all, he didn't care. He was over there like smiling from ear to ear like it was love at first sight. And I was like, "Sir." Anyway, like I was saying, fast forward. So after all that other stuff happened at the library and all that, what we end up finding out is her boss sent her there to see if she could pull off doing all of this stuff without having to pay the fine. Like, she does dares and stuff like this all the time for her. And it's a challenge, and she normally could pull it off. She was like, "Well, I ain't had no faith in you that you could pull this off." And then that's what she actually shared with Miss Luma, that she, had somebody willing to pay the fine and all this other stuff. And so she was like, "You should have taken him up on that. You don't really find nobody willing to do stuff like that." So they be having heart-to-hearts, and it's amazing. It was pretty cool. So, y'all, this is when we find out that men don't really hold her attention like that. And she was like, "Well, girl, you a lot like me." And I was like, "Well, no wonder y'all get along so well, because y'all are so much alike." So she was in the kitchen, like preparing some greens and all this other stuff. And then she starts getting notifications. And, he had, responded to her Instagram and all this other stuff. And she ended up showing Miss Luma what he looked like. And, she was here for it. So anyway, y'all, she ended up actually DMing him back. And they met up at this cheesecake place. So he drove over there. Like I told y'all before, she doesn't drive. And he met her over there, and he didn't know what to expect because he'd never been over there. He's normally on like the good side of town. So he went over there, not knowing what to expect. They walk in, and she was like, I just want, the original. And so he didn't know what to order. He ain't had no menu. He didn't know what to do. And so she was like, you want me to just, order for you? And he was like, yeah. So she was like, one strawberry, one Oreo. And so I was like, okay. And I mean, I didn't even pay attention to the sign. So when I saw their hands, I was like, okay then. So they ended up going outside and sitting on the curb. And she wanted him to pick which cheesecake, a certain cheesecake. Because she said you could tell a lot by somebody depending on what they're going to pick. And, all this other stuff. And so he was like, well, I feel like if I pick the strawberry one, you're going to think I'm weak and all this other stuff. And if I pick the Oreo, you're going to think I'm all these things or whatever. But on the other hand, if I pick strawberry, you might think I'm sensitive. But then if I pick the Oreo, you're going to think something about the chocolatiness of it all. And so she was like, okay, I see you good at your job, because there's some kind of analysis at the tech company and things. So he was like, I don't care. I'm picking the strawberry. So she was like, yes. And so he was like, what is that all about? She was like, I love Oreo. So he was like, really? This is what we do? You sitting up here, you secretly wanted me to pick that? That made you happy. So they had a whole conversation about how you doing things for other people, making them happy, makes you happy, and that she wants to be around people who are positive and, are making her happy. And, he was here for that conversation. I was here for it, too. I was like, that's what I'm talking about, because that's exactly the thing that I'm on right now. Like, that's all I want. If you're going to be crazy, if you're going to talk crazy, if you're going to act crazy, if it's negative, I don't want no parts of it. I have so much positivity going on. I'm trying to get back to me, like all the way back to me, because I have always been that type of person that when you see me, I'm good morning, how you doing? Like all of that early on a Monday morning. And most people cannot stay. A lot of people are morning people. They ain't here for all that. They need their coffee. They need something. They already feel like they sleep deprived. And like, I really will have all kinds of random adrenaline, and I'm happy. I'm upbeat. That's me. So it's like, if you ain't positive, I ain't trying to be around that. So that's why I'm here for her when she say that. So anyway, since she doesn't have a car, she was going to go on ahead and leave from him. And I was like, well, I wonder if, he going to be on the bus with her, or if he going to, be in the car with her, they're going to go their separate ways. How is it going to go? Because the way that they had the camera, going through the scene of the city, they just showed that, but they didn't show them. So I was like, okay, let's see what's going to happen. So he ended up taking her in his vehicle back to the side of town that, she either lives on, or she was going to go where Miss Luma lives. So what happened was he actually was taking her to her guardian's house. We learned that this man who, y'all infamously know this man as the husband who was screwing Faith on soul food. Y'all, I can't remember that man's real name, but this is him. He's aged. He used to be fine to me back in the day, but yeah, this is him. Apparently this man took her in when she was like 9 years old. Her daddy was in that street life, and he ended up getting killed and all this other stuff. So she introduces him to that man, and because she needed to run an errand, so she was like, "Oh, you could just drop me off right here. I got an errand to run." And so like he's being very, very helpful and polite. He was like, "Oh, well, I can help you." And so she was just like, well, this is something that requires a flatbed. And he was still like willing to, lend a helping hand. So she was like, yeah, you can help. So the reason why she went over there was because he had one of them, what are they, El Caminos or something? Y'all let me know down in the comment section. They had a flatbed on it. So went over there, and he looking back and forth at his car like, And he had to let him know, like, I got you. Don't nobody move nothing around here unless I tell him to. So you ain't got to worry about all that. So he was like, okay, I believe you. I trust you. It was an interesting exchange. So the reason why she needed to go over there was because she needed to drive like far out to Carson to get a refrigerator for Miss Luma. And I don't know if Miss Luma at this point asked her to do it or if it's something that she wants to do. Because the refrigerator that Miss Luma has, it leaks like all the time. So they done got out there, and whoever owns the place, they talking about they'll be back in an hour. So he started reading the people of Carson, and that's when he finds out that, you know, her daddy or the uncle or the other man that was there is from that area. Because he was like, they always want to claim that they from this other place, but, you know, they ain't got nothing but an IKEA out here. Like, he really was trying to read. So she was like, well, you know, I'll think of something we can do. Because he was like, well, what we going to do while we wait? So they ended up going to this restaurant, bar, or something that had like arcade stuff all up and through. So they did that. They played basketball and like arcade games. And it became very, very touchy-feely, friendly, like platonic. Well, not platonically. I don't want to say it like that. But, you know, it was, you could see the laws of attraction. You could see it. And I was like, oh, okay then. So they ended up going somewhere, and they got some nachos and cheese, and they were just out there in the back of the flatbed part of the car and talking. And then he brings up her upbringing in a sense, and because she was like, you know, well, where did you go to school? Because earlier in the day she asked where he went to school, and he said Stanford, because he was paying off his student loan debt. He had just paid it off like 6 months ago. He feels really good about it. And so she was like, well, you know, did you get the Tesla before or after you paid the student loans off? And he was like, before. And I was being reckless and dumb. And so she was like, no, congratulations. You know what I'm saying? That's something that you know, you look where you working. Like obviously you have enough money to do both. So I ain't mad at it. So y'all, when they went in the back of that Camino, he was trying to understand why didn't he go to school, because she was like, I barely made it to school 2 days out of the week. So he was like, well, where were your parents? She got offended like very, very quick and was like, well, I have, you know, my father was in the street and he died, and my uncle took me in like his own, and he actually got a legit job slanging newspapers, and he did all that for me. Like, she really went all the way off, and she just kept feeling like he was asking too personal of questions. She was like, what is this supposed to be? Like, she really got offended to the point where she was just like, look, I think we need to go. So they ended up going back to the place. She was mad at him for the rest of the night. And, you know, he didn't know about, you know, what exactly to the degree of what she was getting. So she went and was measuring it. And she was like, dang, it's too, you know, big. So the refrigerator was like an antique, nice refrigerator. Still worked, all that. And so she was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to get it. It's too big. It's like an inch too big. And so he was like, oh, well, maybe we can make it fit. And so she was like, no, it's an older style home. I know how Miss Luma is. It ain't going to fit. You can't do nothing about it. So they walking out, and he was like, well, let me help. So I'm thinking that the way that they panned in on the camera, Miss Luma's words was going to resonate with her and be like, okay, I'll let him help. And she was like, nah, because she mad in this moment. She was like, I don't need your help. I already had it. I'm handling this. You just think throwing money at everything gonna fix it. So like, she was mad. It went into a place of arguing, and she was like, either you gonna come or you gonna get left. So he was like, well, I'm gone. So he ended up calling an Uber driver or somebody to come pick him up. Of course, she done already made it back to her daddy, you know, uncle house. And instead of him going up to the door and, you know, trying to hash it out and just talk about it, he saw the silhouette of her. Like, he saw her kind of like through the silk screen, you know, curtain. Y'all had to look over at the curtain to figure out what in the word I wanted to say. And, you know, instead of him going in there and man up doing that, he didn't. And she saw him, you know, going on back by his business. So she just sat down, like she was kind of hoping that he was going to do it. But in her mind, it's like, she was like, oh, he wasn't going to do it, whatever. So I was like, Lord, y'all doing too much. So It's crazy because when they were vibing, this is when she revealed that, she didn't go to school. When she graduated high school, she went to the airport and had a one-way ticket to Europe, and that's why her Instagram looked the way it looked. And she had to let him know, like, it was not easy just being out there, because he was like, I want to go every place you went and all this other stuff, y'all. So all that stuff went south really, really quick. And I was just like, oh, that's sad. Like, what they gonna do? Is he gonna man up? I don't know. But anyway, hopefully he'll man up. I'll be back a little bit later on, hopefully, with the second part, because they had a 2-day event. I hope y'all have a good one. I'll see y'all later. Bye.